So Indian culture shows that thousands of years ago we were so open to it. We studied it like a science because the oldest scripture on sexuality is from India. Parsayana's Kama Sutra as well as Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, these two very old scriptures are from India. We worship a symbol such as Shivlinga, which is a symbol of a union of Shiva and Parvati, sexual union of Shiva and Parvati. It is not Shiva's face. And you will not find not a single village in India where there is no Shiva's temple. But this is about thousands of years ago. What is the scene today? Parents don't talk about sex to their children. Teachers don't talk about this subject to their students. There is no sex education at schools. There is no sex education in college. There is no sex education even in a medical college. And if we do not educate our children in this particular aspect of life, how it could harm them? I would like to give you an example. Just imagine a little girl, maybe a 9 or a 10-year-old girl, very innocent, very bright. She's been never told by her mother about getting periods, something as simple as getting periods. Maybe mother thought that I will tell her as and when she gets her periods. And this girl has absolutely no idea about getting periods. She's away from the house, maybe in school, maybe she's traveling, maybe she's on a playground. And unexpectedly, she gets her first period. It's called as Menarche. Now, she might have thought of bleeding from nose or mouth because lots of movies and televisions show that. But she must have never imagined that she could bleed from vagina. And it is a big shock to her. Around the same time, the hormones which are responsible for this girl getting her period are also the same hormones which at around the same age are giving her some sexual thoughts and feelings. Maybe she is experiencing certain sensations around her genitalia, but she doesn't know what it is. When she gets her period, she starts bleeding. Invariably, bleed means either an injury or a punishment or something very wrong is happening. She may interpret that probably I was getting those dirty thoughts and probably I enjoyed them, that is why I got this punishment. So something which was so physiological, something which was so natural, rather than welcoming it, she is shocked. She is full of shame and anguish. This psychological trauma, very often, if she was not prepared for it, can stay with her for a very long time. As a sexual medicine expert, I see lots of cases where a couple is married and after marriage they are unable to consummate their marriage, means they are unable to perform intercourse. And almost 30 to 40% of cases, the reason found is vaginismus. That means just at the time of intercourse, a woman's vagina goes into an involuntary spasm and she is unable to allow the penetration during intercourse. Not that she is not willing, it could be a love marriage. She could herself be looking forward to having sexual intercourse after her marriage, but just when it is attempted, her vagina goes into a painful spasm and intercourse becomes impossible. And they go to a gynecologist. Months and years sometimes pass. And it is very difficult, it is one of the very difficult conditions to treat. In a process of my practice in last more than 20 years, when I studied this particular subject, this particular problem, I noticed that those girls which were not prepared by parents about getting periods and somehow experienced it suddenly unprepared and experienced that psychological trauma, that shock, it is these girls who suffer from vaginismus after marriage. So something that could have been prevented by simply telling a little girl that beta, you are growing. Any time after, maybe when she is 9 years old, that is the best time to tell her, kid, any time after today, one day suddenly you will start bleeding from your vagina, which is normal. It happens with all normal women. And it is actually a sign that you are growing up to be a woman. It's a happy happening in your life. So welcome it, but of course it could just happen any time. So you need to be prepared for it. So then she can be instructed to carry a sanitary pad in her school bag or wherever she is going, and she can be taught beforehand that whenever this happens, this is how you are supposed to use the sanitary pad, and feel happy about it that you have become a woman. This is the first sign in your body that you have become a woman. Now this could be said in just 1 minute. But somehow mothers hesitate to say this to their daughters for several reasons. Why mothers hesitate? They are either embarrassed themselves, it just doesn't occur to them. Or they decide to talk about it only when the daughter gets her first period. And how they're thinking that she's too young to know. Or it will disturb her. Or she will get the periods at the same age as I got it. This is a big myth. You might have got your periods at the age of 12 or 13 and she may get it at 9. After 9 it is possible, so it is necessary that probably when your daughter's 9th birthday is approaching, you need to prepare her by telling her about getting periods, that it is something very natural, very normal, and she need not worry about it. She hasn't hurt her. And she should welcome this change. She should come dancing home. Mama, I got my periods. I become a woman. Rather than what happens is that she simply hides this fact. She starts bleeding. She doesn't know how to handle the situation. Rather than rushing back home and telling the mother, she hides it. But such things do not remain hidden. Naturally, mother comes to know about it, then she tells about it. But this trauma, once she started getting her period, and by the time she comes to know that this is normal, this period is very, very significant. It remains in her unconscious as a wound, as a trauma several times, and manifests exactly when she gets married. And they are intimate, willingly. And again the same part of her body, again the pleasurable sensations. And unconsciously her vagina goes into spasm, and such couples really, really suffer because it takes sometimes months and even years to treat them. When there is nothing physically wrong with the woman. And this is something that we can prevent. Something that's going to affect her at that age, post-maritally, can be prevented by simply educating her at a very early age.